Good afternoon. Thank you very much to distinguished viewers and our viewership online also that you have found time to be part of this discussion. Our topic today is digitalization and competition. I'm sure it will be interesting. A small introduction of what we're going to discuss today. We will discuss competition, a classical topic, but in a little bit new version, if we may. It might seem that everything is settled down, all the systems are working, all tools are being used, but the world is changing constantly, and players of the financial market are changing, and the market is changing also. And the driver of all those changes also is digitalization. Just recently, it might seem strange that we are about to discuss competition over stores selling fridges and toys against the bank. But a store is not a store anymore. It's a big technological platform. And the bank is not a bank anymore, a big tech. And what's the global question we wanted to discuss today? If we speak about competition with changing the financial industry under the influence of digitalization, do the rules of the game change, or only tools are changing and the approaches are changing? We have a very relevant set of speakers today for this topic, and I'm glad to introduce to you the legislative power is represented by Mr. Zhuravlev, Vice Speaker of the Council of Federation. The regulator is presented by Vladimir Chistyukhin, First Deputy Chairman of Bank of Russia. From the business, we have a new player here in the financial field. Is Tatiana Bakalchuk, Director General of Wildberries. Classical banking is presented by Zybina, Gazprombank. And Nikolay Katorzhnov, Chairman of the Board of MKB Bank. And finally, both bank and big tech, both beautiful and smart, Alexander Vedyakhin, Sberbank. Thank you very much that you mentioned that I'm like from a joke, both beautiful and smart. That was only one of my jokes. Please be relaxed. I'm not going to joke anymore. I'm going to start not from a question, but from not to the speakers, but a question to the audience. I would like to have your opinion on this question. We will vote now, and I hope in those 1.5 days you mastered this technology. You just have to log into the app Finapolis, find our session there, which is the session at 3:30 p.m. Sorry for this small delay. We hope that we will stick to timing further on. There are 2 questions in this app. Please answer to 2 questions. First question is, what, in your opinion, will be the main challenge for competition in the financial market in the nearest 5 years? And right away, the second question, digitalization of the financial market, is it a support or an obstacle for the growth of competition? There are only 2 options. And now, meanwhile, I would ask our speakers to have blitz replies, to give blitz replies. What on the 5-year horizon will be the main challenge for competition on the financial market? Shall I give you the options, or are we going to fantasize? Okay, help us, please. So, option, you can pick up one, or you can give something on your own. What will be the main challenge for competition? Historically settled structure, market digitalization, development of platforms and ecosystems, and changes in the real sector of the economics. Vladimir. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I will do my best to do it quickly. Out of 4 options, I think first 3 fit perfectly because historically settled structure is that the banking system is dominating. It is the basis of the competition, and everything what happens there is the foundation for competition on the whole financial market. And what happens inside the banking system, we have a super dominating player, Sber, and some others try to catch up with them, and it determines a lot in this regard. Digitalization, basically now the regional footprint is vanishing, everything can be done now through internet, a huge number of decisions are made using digital technologies, and in this sense, working with big data, AI, which is now a hot topic today at this Phenopolis. In principle, there are those determining factors which start to shape the new competition conditions. And finally, platforms and big techs. Here we should mention the following. The financial sector starts to go to non-financial services, and non-financial sector starts to deal with financial services. And this is an additional aspect of our competition. In principle, all those three aspects are really key for us. Tatiana, you as a representative of non-financial sector, which enters the financial one, what for you is the main challenge in the competition in the market? Good afternoon. I think that the main challenge will be in the fact that the non-financial sector would strive to enter more and more to a financial one, and vice versa. And a very interesting time is in front of us. We will evidence how giants collapse with each other, how giants are trying to fight. In our sector, is everything okay, I believe. We have a unique situation in the market, in the world. In none of the countries in the world there is such a big competitive e-com sector that we have. And the second challenge that I really see, thanks to colleagues, they mentioned that, and I have to support them. And I believe this is going to be the main question, are human resources. Human resources is the key. Now, we, for instance, already feel that, and I think both financial and non-financial colleagues of ours also feel that. We are fighting for same talents. And next, we're going to fight for those we are going to train and teach for those talented staff and skilled staff. I think that's going to be a main topic and very hot topic soon. And Elvira Nabiulina already mentioned same. We have enough demand, enough money, but don't have enough human resources in the country. Ivan, probably you would say a few words about demography a little bit later, probably. The market structure here in the finance, we have big major players, rich players, we have not big ones and not very rich ones. And the problem is, and this is also good, that rich ones invest in the AI, digitalization, and they are moving away from those who are not able to spend so much on that. So the main challenge for competition today is cost inflation. Due to competition, banks will not be able to place over to their customers. And of course, AI and the race for using it in all the processes will be determining. Our AI is not regulated anyway. There are some attempts only. We see positive practices, we see negative practices in the world. Our task as a legislator to regulate it in a way that we, without hitting on the hands of those who are promoting the industry, who is the local, but at the same time we should help the underperformers, not to allow them to lag behind too strongly. About small players and medium players, there will be a talk later. Pilar Maria, please. I will support Vladimir. There was an attempt to speak about digitalization, but for now, owing to the active involvement of the regulator, digitalization stopped to be a challenge for financial sector and economics of Russia. We are an absolute leader in this sphere. And what's going to be the challenge? The challenges will be changes in the real sector, because they influence strongly not only the financial sector, but there could be different things. Different things could happen there. And import phase out, of course. As our president mentioned recently, that Russia stops to be a gas station. Thank you, Alexander.
Спасибо. Здесь разные
Thank
факторы, на мой
you.
взгляд,
There are
вопрос-то разный.
versatile
Вызов для
factors.
конкуренции или
But
для
what
улучшения
challenge?
конкуренции? Это
A
две
challenge
большие
for
разницы.
competition improvements
Изначально вопрос
or
звучал как
for
основной
competition
вызов
as
для
is?
конкуренции на
The
финансовом
main challenge
рынке.
for
Что может
competition on the
препятствовать
financial market. What can be an obstacle as far as I understand? What can complicate the competition? So, historical structure of the market. They mentioned here that Sber is a dominating player, or monopolist is not a good word, it was replaced. Yes, a dominating player. We sincerely believe that such big players and strong players will be more, and we only welcome Wildberries and Ozon on our market, and we truly like it. I'm not joking. This is our corporate client, by the way. Well, why not? As also Ozon.
Ну и здесь, кстати,
Well, then, and by the way, when we speak about the settled down infrastructure on the market, we should also stress that some time ago we have had 3 big payment systems. How many do we have now? Only one. And who's the owner of this payment system? Okay, let's go over to our next question. I can only be have the deepest respect to the person in the blue suit. Vladimir, it's not about that, Alexander. Please do not skip the topic. Well, in general, well, not in general. Again, we have respect for the regulator, and we only support what he is doing.
Это на Финополисе обязательный дисклеймер.
It's a disclaimer that this is a mandatory discussion in Phonopolis. Next thing, market digitalization, what Nikolay mentioned in his address. AI, we're looking at it as a repeated word, a buzzword. Yesterday we have had a wonderful discussion. The big language models, it means much money, and only big players can afford it. Well, but that's going to be one of the factors which is going to differentiate the market. The way how the AI player works in the market, that's going to be a big factor. Development of platforms and ecosystems, definitely yes, it's going to only strengthen the competition. It's very hard to become the second Wildberries or second Ozon. It costs too much. We do know that, dear colleagues. But this competition will be fierce. Players become more mature, more and stronger, and strong competition is good for the final user. And changing is the real part of the economy. I agree with Maria. We see the big challenge there, again, specifically for the classical banking. Thank you very much, Nikolay. Yes, speaking about competition on the financial market, definitely is the market structure, historically existing market structure, because in the financial market, Ozon and Wildberries are not very active so far, and the settled down structure of the market will complicate their active presence on the financial market, because the financial market is quite a specific thing, with a lot of special skills, a lot of knowledge to be excellent in, and it's also expensive to master them. We have one player who can afford to spend 1 trillion a year. It depends on what. Maria, do you spend 1 trillion on everything? No, we do not spend 1 trillion. But can you do it? I think it's around this figure. And all other market players in total, I don't think they all spend so much altogether. And huge efforts, systematic efforts are made to make equal access of banks to those products My thanks goes to the biggest players of the market for their attitude to this issue, for the fact what they afford and allow by using their products, and how they perceive competition at the moment. There are no fierce price competition, there are no fight for the market share as is. But if we reformat a little bit, reformulate the question a little bit, can we assume that within 5 years, Horizon, the dominating player in the market, can become a monopolist? Definitely it can, and the market structure pushes him for that. That's the goal of our discussion today, just to discuss how to think, how to avoid it, and how to prevent it. Probably not to raise all the barriers for competition, but to minimize it. Let's see what our viewership thinks about it. Please pull up on the screen the answers to the first question. Almost half of our viewers, of our audience, believe that the main problem will be platform and ecosystem development. The second place goes to the changes in the real sector of the economy, and the historical market is on the last place. And now the results of the second question. I remind you, digitalization of the financial market, is it a support or obstacle? It's a support. Almost 87% of respondents voted for that. This is very good, because today we're speaking about digitalization and its opportunities for competition. It's going to be our main topic today. And let's start with the legislative side, legislative sphere. Nikolay, how often questions of competition are raised in the legislative agenda? How active are they in general, and do they pay enough attention to it? When we discuss draft laws about financial markets, we think first and foremost about competition, because historically we have very complicated financial market in terms of structure. With all my respect, the concentration is very high. We have 3 times gap between player player 1 to player 2, and then 3 times gap between player 2 and player 3, and the other share is striving to some fractures of percentage. We always think about competition. Competition means holding up the growth of rates, reduction of cost of services, improvement of availability. These are very well-known factors which cannot be disputed. All recent decades in the crisis showed us the need to find for a balance. We passed through the cleansing of the market, which was juxtaposed to the growth of crediting volumes. We invented new products for markets. We developed new tools of financial markets, and at the same time we kept thinking about the protection of consumer rights, and many other factors and challenges we took into account in the recent times. We try as much as possible to adopt our legislative regulation. Everything which can be the benefit to the market development, we try to adopt as fast as possible. We keep thinking about releases. We understand that the mess in regulation will not be to the benefit of the market development, and we should not be in a very hurry to evaluate the draft laws we are adopting. A very vivid example of legislation for competition is our financial infrastructure. We all remember that in 2014 we were told why we need our own payment system, why we need our own plastic card, why we need our rating infrastructure, and so on and so forth. We understood and now that all our decisions were absolutely right. We have financial independence and sovereignty just because for this decade we built up an independent, full-fledged financial rating audit infrastructure. And this is the basis for our competition in the financial market. And now, then we see this infrastructure, and this is state infrastructure, quasi-state infrastructure. It is the foundation for competition development, since it allows the state both to regulate and to control tariffs and make them affordable not only for majors, but also for small and medium enterprises.
Another good example of the legislative care for competition is the zeroing of tariffs for socially significant operations. Those operations that help people not to be into salary slavery, which is just to transfer freely their funds from one bank account to another one. That allows for the competition between major and smaller players. Also the scoring industry. When we were just discussing that, we remember that there were a lot of different ratings, but now we have our sovereign rating industry, and now we are waiting for the law to be adopted of the rating as the single criteria of the access to the government-owned or quasi-government-owned funds. And it also will be helping the competition. Next, ecosystems. We do understand that this is our reality. It is convenient. It keeps the client inside an ecosystem, but at the same time, it is a threat to competition. That's why we've supported the report that was made about 18 months ago by the central bank on legalized assets. As far as I understand, this work is now stopped, and we support the continuation of this work, and we as legislators stand ready to adopt all the laws that are needed for the regulation of ecosystems. Another aspect is transparent and clear rules of game. This is also the key success for fair competition, key success factor. So we adopted a set of laws to protect consumer rights at the financial market. And we are also supporting the fair regulation of the full price of a loan. We also work on prevention, some disinformation on the financial services, some unfair advertisement, as well as we are now drafting some amendments to the qualification. It will allow to categorize the citizens into those who are qualified investors, and they will be able to enjoy some more complicated investment tools, and those who are not that experienced in that area yet. Now, the arbitration between the regulatory taxation players as well as just players in the market. It's a very important topic, arbitration between the microfinance organizations and banks. We see where this arbitration led us to, so all the banks just developed their own microfinance organizations. Then insurance companies and non-state-owned pension funds, we also have taxation arbitration. So we have the federal law 353. It is about the loans and credits, and it regulates this area. And so the arbitration here is also something that we should overcome here. And well, we stand ready to help our regulator at the legislative level. Separately, I'd like to mention the instrument of long-term savings. We were very proud to adopt it this summer. We do understand that this instrument could be attractive to our citizens. And it seems to us that we should allow not only non-government-owned pension funds to come into play, but also banks, insurance companies, brokers, etc. And of course, financial organizations. We have to praise them here, and we'd like to thank everybody, especially Sber, because, well, despite all of its achievements, Sber allows its financial services to be available for some smaller players, for those that don't have these opportunities, and I would literally like to thank you for this. Well, not always our financial players are fair in their behavior. There are still some cases, there are few cases like this, but there are few cases that still happen. They can be about customers and not only, so we would like to ask our financial organizations to be more fair when they operate in the financial market. So, Nikolay, I have a short question to you. You, as a former banker in your previous position, so now you are in the other field. But let's imagine we have a bank, middle-sized, that doesn't aspire to be the monopolist. Do you think that the state, the Federal Anti-Monopoly Service and Central Bank does enough to protect fair competition? Well, you say that I'm on the other side of this game now. That's not completely true, because we are in continuous interaction with my colleagues in this field. We have the common goal. We are just working on achieving it from the legislative level, and our colleagues, by hands, by the investment, by the resources, their money, they do the same. Okay, thank you.
Tatiana, вас зовут уже на такие совещания?
Tatiana, are you invited to those types of meetings? Marketplaces are becoming big tech companies. They are also players in the financial market. And do you participate in these discussions? No, not yet. I think there is still some room for growth for us. Well, this is because the regulator here is the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Right, okay, so we have big tech companies that also have to compete with the ecosystems of the major banks. So, how do marketplaces plan to integrate and implement some digital solutions, such as digital ruble, for example? How will you motivate your consumers to use some digital financial products? Well, as far as I understand, today is the day when we can joke about a company that is big and green in its branding. We haven't started this war. Oh, I actually didn't realize that this was a war. Well, now I just see the headlines in the newspapers tomorrow, like Sber wages war against Wildberries. No, of course it's a joke. So I would like to thank Sber because it's been our partner, a reliable partner for a number of years. That was an advertisement. And well, in fact, thank you very much for helping us to develop our own fintech capabilities. You help us with advice. Obviously, we have the common goal, which is to develop a Sberbank. Now we feel very comfortable working with you, and I do hope that all the plans that we outlined this and next year will be for our mutual benefit, as well as for the benefit of our buyers and sellers. As to our plans on how to implement new tech projects. Now I'll joke, but this time I'll joke about myself. So we'll do it as we've usually done, but we'll just do it in a more smooth manner. We learn from our mistakes, and we will try to take the cue from Sber, how they do it. So the question is quite a weird to me, I guess, because first, we don't really call ourselves a marketplace, we call ourselves a digital platform or platform company. And it's strange for us to hear like a marketplace, because, well, we've always been proceeding from digital. Like, digital is our second name, basically. We've continuously working to implement new projects. We have updates, releases, dozens, hundreds of those per day. Not all of them are visible to our users. So we will just continue to implement what we've already been implementing. Okay, is there still some room for digitalization for you? Right, of course, we have huge plans in the field of fintech. I would agree and say that the current market situation can be a threat to competition indeed, because
развитой инфраструктуры, как есть у Сбербанка,
such a developed infrastructure that Sberbank has, I don't think that anybody else can say that they have it. And Sber is doing great, and they continue to develop.
Это действительно может стать угрозой,
And this can become a threat.
Просто не оставит уже места для того, чтобы развиваться остальным. Это может стать таким вариантом, на который стоит посмотреть. По финтеху там не буду рассказывать,
I won't go into the details here, just the same that everybody else does in the market.
И кредитование,
loans.
И так, сейчас, секунду. Различные там транзакции между... Мы планируем развивать как бы сервисы как для покупателей, так и для наших продавцов и, собственно, для сотрудников. То есть для продавцов это будет в первую очередь кредитование, потом различные операции, тоже банковские, для покупателей тоже стандартные, сначала кредитование, потом мы будем вводить наши
And then we will introduce not our cards, but accounts, so to say, Wildberries accounts, and everything connected to that.
Другие вот цифровые проекты, которые мы хотим внедрить, это более такие интересные, на мой взгляд. Вот как раз это ответ на вопрос, как мы помогаем продавцам и покупателям пользоваться цифровыми продуктами. Покупателям, наверное, не особо как-то помогаем, хотя вот могу не сказать, что мне кажется, что мы первые на рынке, кто развязал процесс покупки, то есть вот физическая вот эта история, да, что ты кладешь в корзину, заказываешь, товар там к тебе поехал, ты пришел к пункту выдачи, забрал товар, но не оплатил. А процесс оплаты, собственно, он идет параллельно. И у нас два этих процесса, они не связаны между собой. То есть оплата может произойти как в момент покупки, в момент того, как человек нажал «купить», «положить в корзину», так и даже после того, как он ушел с пункта выдачи. Это зависит от многих факторов. Самое такое простое — это от рейтинга, так скажем, покупателя, насколько мы доверяем ему. И дальше наворачивается как бы другая там история. Вот. Это нам помогло увеличить количество транзакций, потому что, к сожалению, не всегда стабильные услуги, которые предоставляют нам наши партнеры банки, и мы таким образом смогли обеспечить достаточно большой прирост выполненных покупок благодаря тому, что мы отвязали и развязали вообще понятие оплаты и понятие совершения покупки. Все те сервисы, которые финансовые мы внедряем для наших покупателей, они отображаются у них в корзине, например, да, как, например, мы когда в свое время промотировали сильно переход на карту МИР и на СБП, у нас все это отражалось в корзине, там была дополнительная скидка за МИР или СБП, или вот когда мы внедряли СБП, там тоже это у нас отражается, и СБП мы сейчас когда внедряем, там есть подключиться к оплате, выбрать условия оплаты через СБП. На самом деле, очень многие вещи, которые мы делаем для наших покупателей, все, что связано именно с финансовой историей, для них происходит бесшовно и незаметно, но результаты свои дает, и мы, например, гордимся тем, что у нас уже порядка 85% всех транзакций происходит по национальным платежным системам. А для продавцов здесь я бы больше рассказала не про финансовые продукты, потому что мы только в процессе развития, а то, что больше беспокоит, то, что, несомненно, связано с понятием цифровой продукт. У нас на площадке зарегистрировано больше миллиона продавцов. Более половины из них — это те люди, которые активно используют нас для развития своего бизнеса. И, конечно, раньше мы всегда говорили, что лучшее, что мы можем сделать для наших
best that we could do for our sellers is to simplify the registration procedure. It would take 5 minutes, and through different API and digitalization, we will just get all the data, and the seller will be able to start working. But when we have 1 million of sellers and about 65 million of different product cards, and we process over 9 million orders per day, this is not the end of the season. We still expect the double increase. So the main concern of our sellers is how to make your product visible on our platform. We realized that we kind of lost sight of this, and that's why we got a lot of people who are not fair in their practice. And this year we launched a new digital product and we'll be actively promoting it. It is a platform which is called ProVB, or about WB, about Wildberries. There, we will train our sellers how to use our platform, and we'll collect the feedback from them how they would like to develop it, make it even better. For our sellers, it's important, of course, that we'll give them loans, but not only. It's important for them that we'll be training them in how to work with Wildberries. That's very important indeed, Tatiana, and I had a question about the next development of digital platforms, but you've already answered this. Alexander wanted to comment, right? Right, I wanted to comment on Tatiana's words. So I will talk about the strategic choice of Sber. 3 years ago, we understood that the largest marketplaces, such as Wildberries, will go to banking. That's normal. To say that it won't happen or wouldn't happen would be strange. We realized that it would happen. And then we had a strategic choice to make. We could say, we can just have like a negative attitude, and we could make some unfriendly steps, right? What would we result in? First, like we would lose the corporate clients, and Tatiana would in any case do whatever she would like to do. So this wasn't an option for us. And that's why we chose for another strategic option, which is, we said openly, we do understand that Wildberries is going into banking. That's normal. Where we can help, we will help. At the same time, we do understand that some clients of Sber will go to Wildberries and use the financial services of Wildberries, partially or completely. For SMEs that are actually working on Wildberries, it's just easier, and you help them also to stay within your ecosystem. Tatiana, we are very open about it. We do understand. At the same time, we believe that it's right for the bank to continue helping, and we'll continue doing this right. And that's why I would like to once again thank you for this. Very soon we'll present our joint product, and it will be for our common sellers. Right, so colleagues, this is about competition. It can be very rough or it can be mild, and we can move together. Each of the players will also see the benefits, like what they will get and what they will lose. For example, we understand that we will lose some clients, but what we get in return, we get good relationships with and partnership with one of the largest platforms in Russia. Okay, good. So, Alexander, is it like just business, or you still don't consider digital platforms real competitors for you? Well,
другой вид, знаете, мне не очень нравится слово конкуренция,
I don't really like the word competition.
Она такая, это слово для Сбера сложное, потому что если бы мы были, вот что-то Владимир Викторович хотел сказать.
Vladimir wanted to add something. No, I don't understand why you don't like this word.
Не просто сложное слово, оно вообще мешает.
It's not just a difficult word for you. It just
Смотрите,
it's a pain for you.
Но, скажем так, если Сбер решить поставить все тарифы в ноль и резко снизить маржу, то на рынке останется только один банк. Мы поэтому не делаем. Мы же тарифы не опускаем не потому, что жадные, а потому что хотим, чтобы другие тоже все хорошо чувствовали.
Alexander, we really value your attitude.
Благодарим Сбер за неснижение тарифов. Сегодня все благодарят Сбер. Николай, ваш взгляд, взгляд крупного, системно значимого, но все-таки не Сбера, банка на то, как развивается конкуренция, и насколько цифровизация помогает или мешает?
Спасибо. Digitalization help?
Nikolay, the floor is yours. Well, first, thank you, Sber, that you don't decrease your tariffs.
Другие причины все-таки, кроме вашей
Probably there are also some other reasons for this, not only your good nature, but we won't talk
Что
about it
касается
that much today. As to
конкуренции,
the
важно
competition,
понимать еще, что
it's
на
important to
рынке
understand
финансовом
that
есть несколько
in the
сегментов.
financial
Это
market
не
there are a
только
couple of
розница.
segments. It's not only
Сейчас
retail.
и вообще на этом
Now,
форуме, на этой
and at
панели
this forum, at
много
this
очень
panel
говорится про
discussion, we are
цифровизацию в
talking a lot
контексте
about
розничного сегмента.
digitalization within
Но
the
у
retail
банков есть
segment.
еще
But
другие
banks
сегменты, я про
have
это
other
часто
segments as
напоминаю.
well, and I would like
Есть,
to remind
например,
you of this.
корпоративный
For
сегмент.
example, corporate.
И не только
Corporate
малый
and
бизнес, есть
not only
крупный,
small
крупнейший бизнес.
business, there's
Там,
big
вообще говоря,
business
спрос на банковское
also.
финансирование и банковские услуги больше,
The
чем мы
demand is
все
higher there
вместе
for banking
сможем дать.
services than we all
Даже
can
если вот
give.
мы
Even if we
все банки России
all banks of
объединятся
Russia
и начнут
combine our efforts and start funding,
не хватит нас для того, чтобы
it won't be
профинансировать всю
enough to
потребность
fund
наших
the whole
корпораций,
demand of our
которая в
corporates,
том числе возникает в связи с
which
изменениями
appears also
структурными,
due to some structural
переориентацией
changes,
на восток,
reorientation to
строительство
the
новой
east,
инфраструктуры и так
building
далее.
of new infrastructure and
Конечно,
so on.
конкуренция там тоже есть.
Of course, there
И
is competition
самые
as well,
интересные, самые
and the most
вкусные
interesting, the most
за них
sweetier
борются
deals
банки. Но там намного больше
a
ниш,
matter of
и
fight
там
for
конкуренция
the
идет
banks. But the
не
niches are
брендом,
more there. There's a
и в меньшей
competition
степени
which goes
технологиями.
not around
Технологии тоже
brand
очень важны, но в
and
меньшей
less,
степени.
to the less extent around
Они не
technologies.
гарантируют победу,
They
скажем
do
так.
not guarantee the victory.
Важно еще и креатив,
It's very important to have creativeness, expertise, the ability of quick decision making, of quick structuring of a complex deal. And this creativeness,
и вполне успешно конкурировать, по крайней мере,
creativity allows us to compete
малый и средний
successfully
бизнес
and to win.
на самом деле
Small and
тоже не
medium
такой простой
enterprises
сегмент.
indeed
Вот
is not
интересная
a very
цифра
simple
прозвучала вчера про то,
an
что
easy
60%,
segment.
по-моему,
It
да,
was said, it was
вы сейчас
mentioned that
выдаете
60% of credits now you
без увлечения
disburse
человека, только на
without the
основе
human
искусственного
involvement,
интеллекта.
only
Очень круто.
based on the
На самом
artificial
деле.
intelligence. This is really
Вызывает
cool,
восхищение.
and
Очень, наверное,
this is
дорого,
admirable.
но очень
Probably
круто.
too expensive, but too cool.
Но при этом малый и
That's
средний
true.
бизнес
At the
тоже
same time,
меняется. Это очень
SMEs,
крупный
they
неоднородный
change.
сегмент.
It's a very
Многие
inhomogeneous segment.
продукты и
A
процессы,
lot of
которые раньше были
products and
типовыми,
processes
становятся
which used to
нетиповыми.
be typical now
Для
become
МСБ
non-typical.
раньше был продукт, который
For
давал любой
SME,
банк.
there was a product
Сейчас
which
его
any
практически
bank
никакой
can
банк
give.
не
Now
дает.
none of the banks
И
can
это
give
то,
a
где как раз
product
креатив
for
и творчество
SME.
очень
There's
нужны и полезны, и
where the
помогают,
creativeness
в том
is
числе в
really
конкуренции.
key and it helps to support
Финансирование,
competition.
например,
For
в
example,
торговое
financing,
финансирование.
trade finance.
Раньше мерчанты работали,
Previously, merchants
во-первых, на условиях частичной
worked
предоплаты,
on a
во-вторых,
partial
логистическая цепочка
advance
была
payment,
проще
partial
и намного
prepayment,
быстрее.
and logistics
Теперь потребность
change
резко
went
выросла в
faster.
финансировании.
Now the
И
funding
на самом
demand
деле
grew much stronger.
неспособные
And
типовые
typical
операции, типовое кредитование не
operations,
способны
typical
покрыть
credits
эту
is
потребность.
not able
Тоже
to
нужно
cover this
творчество.
demand.
Нужно
Again, creative
учиться
approach is
брать в
needed.
залоги
We have
товары в
to
обороте,
learn how
например.
to take
Это сложно, пока мы не умеем, но
circulation
научимся.
goods as a collateral.
Тоже
We
есть
will
место
learn how to
творчества,
do
есть
it.
место
We
креатива,
will
значит,
do
есть
it.
возможность
Where's the
побеждать.
place, space
А вот
for
розничный сегмент, это,
creativeness?
конечно,
There's victory.
очень сложный такой
Retail
кроваво-красный
is
океан. Я ради
bloody red
любопытства посмотрел,
ocean, very
что банки
complicated
говорят про
thing. Out
количество
of
клиентов.
curiosity, I
И выяснилось,
checked what
что
banks
у топ-5
tell
банков
about
200 миллионов
this
клиентов.
segment. Top banks have 200 million clients,
Больше, чем все
more
население
than the whole
России, включая
population of
новорожденных
Russia,
младенцев.
including
Это
infants.
ваша клиентская база.
This is your client
То есть,
base.
что это значит? Это
What
значит,
would
что
it
у
mean? It
взрослого
would mean
трудоспособного
that
человека минимум 2
an
карточки.
adult person has
Часто больше.
at least 2
Соответственно,
business cards, 2
да, при
plastic
этом,
cards, sometimes more than 2.
Каких-то фундаментальных
At the same
структурных,
time, there
изменяющих
is
клиентский опыт инноваций
no fundamental
на этом рынке не
innovation
было со
which
времен
could change
одного банка,
the
который начал
client
кредитные карточки по
behavior
почте рассылать.
since the time when
И
one
без
big
отделения
bank
работать.
started to work without
Если совсем
branches
по-честному, то
and
сейчас
send out cards by
продукты
mail. Honestly
топ, не
speaking,
знаю, 15 банков не так сильно
the
отличаются по
products of
качеству,
top
по
15
клиентскому
banks
опыту,
are not
по набору
much
продуктов.
different in the set of
Начинают
products and
отличаться, надо
quality.
отдать должное, опять же,
Yes, we
технологическим
have to
лидерам.
pay
Но
tribute
пока
to
еще не
technological
сильно.
leaders. They make a difference, but not
И
very strong.
В таких условиях
And
конкуренция
under
идет
such conditions, the
маркетингом и
competition
бюджетом.
goes around marketing budgets. It's important. We can live with it. And of course, competitiveness and competitive advantage is around technological advancement. And we should pay the tribute to the regulator here and to legislators. Competition could become very unpleasant, but those limitations which are imposed and the position taken by a few leaders in the retail segment, each of them believes that it is the true leader, and the restrictions on unfair advertisements, for instance, allow to compete in the quality. There could be fair competition and unfair competition. Regulators now enhance fair competition, which improve the quality of products for the customer and the price proposition and the availability. And this is cool. And also, it is important to provide equal access to subsidized programs. They could have just taken the limit to private banks, but it didn't. But it doesn't happen. It's equal access for everybody. By the way, the access to data is also equal. The market leader has 100-something million clients, 108 million, right? Wildberries is catching up. Just in case. Nevertheless, the data access, what is interesting, banks with ecosystems specifically, we're not going to finger on them, have the most complete data volume. Others don't have it. Banks see everything, starting from how the client spends, how he earns, where he saves. And if banks have limited it strictly, it would have been really difficult to compete. But it doesn't happen. But this is another challenge for the competition. Thanks. By the way, we will come back to digitalization costs. This is a very important issue. Maria, especially about the new client experience. Is that why you started to create your ecosystem, or just because you wanted to grab more data and collect more data about the client? I could answer yes, but no. That was just a young decision to go into our own ecosystem, and it's not just our liking, it's just a need of our life. And Tatiana mentioned it very correctly. The client today, the modern consumer, got used to convenience, everything in one place, and just it's not enough to satisfy only banking needs. This is the issue of survival. That's why we made a decision to go for a known ecosystem, at the same time using the fact that we're not the first, grabbing the experience of our competitors. We started to build an open type ecosystem. What would it mean? We do not go for M&A. We do not buy other companies. We close partnerships. In this regard, we learned how to build up joint products, how to combine them, to make them work together. And those collaborations, first and foremost, generate value for all participants in the value chains, for us, for our partners, and for the client itself. In this regard, it gets a jointly delivered product in one place, and which is also important, we offer it at a very good price. And the second story, which is our goal, and we can be proud of it, we try to create new client digital experience of consumption by creating digital daily services, by combining our joint products with partners, easily and friendly for user, easily to be used, and the consumer wants to have a choice, not only of the partner, but of the way to cover their needs. We have models for digitalization, and we'll have also offline channels. It's available through our convergence. And for us as a Gazprombank, it's possible to reach out to new users, and this is going to be the driver for the profitability of our own business. And not a word about Sberbank. That was the only speaker who didn't mention it. But it's okay, Maria, we'll have the second round. But the word was announced, well, there was a complete silence in the hall. Vladimir, tell me please, does regulator control the homogeneous approach for the benefit of competition and the consumer? And if you follow it, are you satisfied with the smoothness of digitalization? Someone can afford more, someone less, but the gap is still growing. What do you think? We are reflecting in a number of issues, so we follow them up. Digitalization is one of them. And honestly speaking, I'd like to challenge the question itself. Do we need this smoothness? Why we need this to be smooth? To be homogeneous, to provide competition or what? But at the same time to break the speed under the current conditions, I'm afraid it would be too costly. I think I would proceed from another thing. I would proceed from the fact that the target setting should be in making sure that there is a competitive fight and we can allow to create new types of financial products using digital technologies and all opportunities and potentials. At the same time, to move forward as much as possible in your development. From my point of view, we should have a goal as not to be the best in the country, the best to become a best platform in the country, but to try to compete somehow on the global arena. If we set this task for us, it would be obvious that we will basically speed up our movement towards digitalization as much as possible. And colleagues, in the beginning there was a small discussion about 1 trillion investment. We do not invest, but probably we should do this. Probably this is the only way out we have. So I'm not sure that smoothness and the homogeneity is a correct story. Second important point is that there are a lot of pains around the fact that the banking sector has some incompletenesses and inhomogeneities inside, without speaking about other participants of the market who have even less opportunities. And this is really the issue of homogeneity, of equality. Do they need to be all equal? No. Probably when we speak about holdings and banking groups who are the core of the financial market, the fact that some bank is a central platform starts to promote digitalization, it has a positive impact on everybody who sits on this platform. They just have to implement digital products to comply with those standards and give some average level which is growing. Probably it's a plus too. And the final point, colleagues expressed it, and I absolutely support this idea, that digitization is not the only condition to win the competition. You should be advanced in digital technologies, but it don't give you 100% of victory, because there are a lot of other factors, starting from the product quality up to the administrative resource, which impact the competitive conditions. That's why, summing up once again, I see it that today the most important topic in terms of digitalization is to be compliant with the best international standards in the area of digitalization by providing at the regulatory level the basic competition conditions. And if someone would lag behind, it's not a problem. Invest more, come together, unite, and we'll be able, I hope, to move forward in terms of competition and win some competitive segment for you. Thank you, Nikolay. You as a regulator, do you think there are enough restrictions for monopolies? Are there enough opportunities to develop competition? Are you concerned about the issue that someone has the trillion for digitalization and someone does not have it? Do they have to compete? You know, we are concerned about everything. But we have such a fair and advanced regulator that it just covers with its umbrella the whole market and regulates it very correctly in terms of competition. In the recent decade, we saw, we're speaking about you, it's about you, not about the anti-monopoly agency. The central bank doesn't have the legislative initiative, but our financial market in this little point of view is regulated much better than other industries. And this is the merit of our regulator. For sure, for our small players, it's very hard to compete against bigger ones. It was mentioned that bigger ones can afford trillions, but smaller ones cannot afford dozens of millions for AI tools and for some digitalization. But taking into account that we see now changes happening in the structure of the economics, in the external economic activity, I'm sure that our small players will be able to find their niches. We see that their role in the external settlements is growing, taking into account that big players are under various sanctions. We see that as we go out from regulatory easements for big players, the smaller banks will have also more opportunities, taking into account the subsidies they have and taking into account the support measures the state provides only to small and medium enterprises and doesn't provide to majors, and so on and so forth. Once again, I have to stress that I'm sure that our regulator for sure will make it to solve the issue of competition on the market, and we as legislators will only support it. So there is no need for some specific protection for small regional banks or non-financial institutions, right? I remember there was a draft law planned last year about that. About what specifically? About additional support and protection of smaller regional banks. I'm not aware about such a draft law. Probably if you could have told me more about it, I would know about it better. I think that existing mechanisms are enough to protect it. We have very strong powers, legislative powers for the central bank, and by doing their regulation, they are able to make sure that smaller would compete against bigger ones. Alexander, what's your take? Do any additional measures needed to protect competition? And by the way, let's speak generally about ecosystem regulation. Do we need this regulation, and if yes, in which format? As for the financial market, I agree here with Nikolay. I think we have very well-regulated financial market, and when I'm going to tell you that we have good regulation, everybody would think it's good for Sber, but bad for competition. If I would criticize the regulator, it wouldn't be right. Everybody would think that the regulator is underperforming. We should fine-tune that something. I can only tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. I think that we have a very well level out balance there, and Vladimir already mentioned that we can smooth out everybody and level out everybody, but there won't be a leader who could pull out the market and be a pioneer in new spheres and develop new technologies, and then to share those technologies with others. We won't have this, as we show it on the Wildberries example. I think in the financial market, the competition is built now very well, and it is supported very well. As for the ecosystems regulation, we should understand first what we want to achieve. Look, if we have a look at other markets, there's a market with only one ecosystem, which is called Amazon. There we approximately understand that it comes in, it kills everything, it's only one monopolist, and that's it.
Там соответствующие требования по антимонопольному
there they have requirements for anti-monopoly legislation and so on. We have a unique situation where we have a few ecosystems. I mean now not only financial ones, we have enough of financial because it's not only Sberbank. We have good alpha development, good developments in Alpha, in Tinkoff, Sovcombank. Gazprombank is sitting next to you. Yes, I just wanted to mention. МКБ not the ecosystem, I don't know. Do you plan or you're not part of this ecosystem race? Okay. Sorry?
По-другому называют. Ну да, они экосистемы в части
They are an ecosystem for legal entities. They know how to work with it, and they are our very big competitor in this niche. They can do it faster and better, some things than we do, and this is okay. And by the way, in the financial market, this is a normal situation. As for the ecosystems, we should regulate it when the consumer suffers. Please correct me when I wrong. What's the point of regulation if there's a huge competition which allows to the customer to get better services? I just don't quite understand the point. Okay, thank you, Nikolay. Why don't you want to have your ecosystem? And is it possible to develop it without ecosystem? Do you agree that we have equal ecosystem flowers in the field and it's not good to limit their growth?
Начну. Почему мы не хотим делать экосистему?
I will start with why we don't want to build an ecosystem. When we think about the strategy where we're moving, we always think about our competitive advantage. And so, honestly, non-financial products development, we don't see it as our competitive advantage. We see our competitive advantage in our team, in the expertise, in our creative approach to some tasks. But to become entrepreneurs and to build some non-financial products, we don't feel that we have enough expertise for this, and we'll also be competing with our clients then. Perhaps beer made that decision because it's a necessity, but we are not as big as beer, and we can use our funds, we can stay profitable without doing ecosystems. And if we do get the will to participate in something like this, then we choose partnerships. I do agree with my colleagues here, because partnerships allow us to come to a win-win solution. When our partner feels good, we feel good, and there's no competition as it is. And in our DNA,
прям глубоко сидит. У нас есть успешная очень история.
We care about partnerships a lot. It's quite a successful story for us. And if we move further, then that's why and that's how we'll be doing this. So, Maria, wanted to ask you about partnerships and competition. So, a lot of people spend a lot of funds on M&A and creation of their own ecosystem. Others start partnerships. So, what is the responsibility of a bank as an ecosystem for the services of their partners? Well, very good question indeed, because that was the main reason why we had to think how to develop our ecosystem. That's how we addressed it. First, at the very beginning, when we choose our partners, we use two criteria. First, on a regular basis, we organize interesting research, we monitor our competitors, we take the best practices, and we also research or do the market research with our customers about the partners that they would like to see in our ecosystem. And then we have a whole selection procedure. So at the very beginning, we fix the rules and requirements, how we regulate some claims from our customers on some specific product. It is enshrined in our contract with the partnership, with partner. And also we have compliance and SLA level, and we also have some ecosystem projects such as Gazprom Bonus, Gazprom Pay. They already have brand in their titles. And we, of course, focus on the reputation of our partners, and we track it very closely. For Gazprom, it's very important to go into some social areas to satisfy some social needs. So the system of selection and clearance of our partners is very good, and we can guarantee the quality here. Thank you very much. So, Tatiana, when it comes to digital platforms, where is your competition? We talked already about client experience, products. What is your competitive landscape? You're asking me about the competition in our business? Right. Where will it be focusing?
За что вы будете биться с другими цифровыми платформами из банка?
Will you be competing for with other digital platforms and banks? Well, as to banks, I don't know, but with some other platforms, the classic answer here would be that we'll be fighting for our users. We'll be trying to win more users, and we will try to offer more services. Naturally, if we now talk about our buyers, the key marker here that everybody is focusing on is the time spent by user on our platform. In the past, the marker was the shortest journey to the cart. So the metric is how fast one can see the card, the item card, and then how fast a user proceeds to order into the cart. But now I don't think it's our target only, but now we are focusing a lot on the time that our users are spending on our platform. And we are currently developing another product. I don't know when we will release it, maybe this year, maybe next, but I'm sure it will be a very interesting case and very beneficial for all the participants on the platform. For those, even for those who are not participants on our platform yet, and they probably will want to join our platform. If we talk about our sellers, on top of what we are offering to them now, I mean the services that they expect from us, here I'm talking not only about WB platform training, we'll train them how to use the platform, how to use the advertisement. Actually, we invite everybody to join this, not only sellers, but also just as participants on the platform. We stand ready to actually offer free of charge and paid services from anybody, from banks, from insurance companies, logistics companies, marketing companies, etc. So this could be a large ecosystem. We are also thinking about what we can offer more, something that our users can't even imagine yet. So briefly, it's
говорили тут про Amazon, да, собственно, можно посмотреть, что делает Amazon для своих продавцов.
About what Amazon does for their sellers, and we would like to move in the same direction.
Дополнительные сервисы, основанные на большом количестве данных, которые есть у нас.
Large number of data that we have, as well as our resources and opportunities. I also wanted to tell a little bit about the concept of platform economy. Why we believe that this is the future? Why such concepts as competition? Well, we live with them, and it's an integral part of our life and the life of everybody who uses our platform. Any platform business, any platform economy is based on such pillars as transparency, reduction of costs, and competition. I do understand that those users that are buyers on our platform, they are not competing. They don't really know what a competition is. for them, actually, the competition is good for them because it provides them with a bigger assortment, faster services, less expensive. It's not only about goods, but, for example, our colleagues started to already sell cars and real estate, but we are not there yet. But for the rest of the participants, they actually go to bed with the concept of competition and they wake up in the morning with the same. And the driving force of platforms development is the competition. We can talk about taxi drivers that compete for the best rating, for more orders, for higher pay.
Если мы говорим прям про наших продавцов, там тоже конкуренция. И очень многие вещи, которые появились вообще даже как само понятие. Вот вы, например, знаете, что такое ПВЗ-киллер? Нет. А вот мы ввели рейтинг для ПВЗ с целью улучшения качества сервиса обслуживания у наших партнеров. На следующий день мы увидели объявление на другой платформе, которую мы тоже уважаем, Авито. Стану вашим ПВЗ-киллером. То есть за денежки я проведу
here, like Avito, they offered to actually such service as Pewter Killer.
Среди наших партнеров, владельцев ПВЗ, что творят продавцы, я даже говорить не буду.
Про цифровую конкуренцию сначала
decrease the rating of their competitors. I won't even talk about this.
В общем, конкуренция лежит в основе развития платформы.
Is the driving force of the platform's development. So that is the story.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you.
Владимир, регулятор как вообще смотрит, вот если глобально, на конкуренцию на финансовом рынке в цифровую эпоху? Это про что? Это битва бюджетов на искусственный интеллект, бюджетов на маркетинг, на M&A, на тот же самый? Или это все-таки другой немножко подход?
битва
I believe that this is now a battle of promises and potential opportunities. And what's important is that now in the field of digitalization, in the digital world, if we talk about financial sector, it is moved forward within the segments that were separated. Now, banks are competing with banks, insurance companies with their peers. So everybody makes fast, easy, friendly techno solutions. And so, based on Tatiana's example, I can say that the competition will start when the user of Wildberries will go to Wildberries platform to get a loan, to place a deposit, to buy insurance, get broker services, etc. And that's how the real competition will start. Thank you for the idea. You haven't thought about it? Okay, of course we thought about it. Okay, but of course I can't talk about the speed. 2 years ago, we made a large report on regulation, not by a legal entity, but by types of activities. And we talked to a large number of everybody who wants to be called a platform. I mean, large bank groups, holdings, financial groups, different ones. And they're very conservative. They say, yes, what you offer, which is to combine all the types of activities within one legal entity, it's good, but we are not ready to bear additional costs. We don't like to mix it all. We have like 15 different legal entities, and we're okay with this, but it's not a problem for a platform. A lot of colleagues are talking about partnerships. Even if it's M&A, those are different legal entities, and they can share these responsibilities. And so the competition will start when one platform offers all the possible services, such as taxi,
не на Яндекс.Музыку будут думать, мне подписываться, а на Wildberries музыку. Вот когда все это начнется, вот это будет цифровая конкуренция.
When it starts, then we'll enter into the era of digital competition, and there will be definitely something to regulate. We have to
Нам пока непонятно, а вот насколько там Озон, Wildberries, Авито, они совпадают по требованиям с точки зрения платформенных решений, совпадают с требованием с крупнейшими банками или иными проучастниками финансового рынка. Нам надо обеспечить на, мне кажется, правильном регуляторном уровне вход продавцов и клиентов, и тот же самый выход, управление данными. Вот Николай Андреевич затронул тему иммобилизационных активов. О чем идет речь? Это тоже тот же самый регуляторный арбитраж. Почему одни участники могут привлечь средства клиентов и использовать их на что-то не финансовое? Хотя изначально такой вот гражданский договор, он заключается, я имею в виду, договор гражданского общества заключается в том, что я даю тебе деньги, а ты их размещаешь какие-то финансовые продукты, как больше профессионал. А когда ты на это покупаешь кинотеатры, аптеки и что-то еще, это какая-то такая странная модель. И тогда надо думать, либо это избыточные риски, либо надо останавливать нефинансовые. Надо думать о том, чтобы нефинансовые платформы имели примерно такие же возможности. То есть в контексте регулирования нас ждет, я думаю, еще очень большое развитие, и, возможно, не все эти вопросы мы сегодня полностью осмыслили и отдаем себе отчет, что станет более тревожным, что менее тревожным. Наверное, так.
Регулирование системы, в общем, по-прежнему на повестке.
100%. Я думаю, что мы в самое ближайшее время... Мы в прошлом году говорили, что мы переходим от ручного кризисного управления к некой обратной системе. Я думаю, что вопрос регулирования платформы экосистем точно один из топ-стоит.
Platform and ecosystem management is also an item on the agenda.
Сейчас время для нашего последнего завершающего такого блиц-опроса. Хотела я спросить у вас про драйверов конкуренции на финансовом рынке. Все такое, но вроде бы перечислили достаточно много моментов, поэтому давайте заострим на том, что мы все сегодня как-то намекали, но так осторожно очень обходили. Нужно ли, на ваш взгляд, ограничивать доли крупнейших игроков, доли крупнейших экосистем? Вот нужно или не нужно? Можете
Do we need to do this or not? You can just say one word, but I'll be very thankful if you could
Ни в коем случае нельзя, как я говорил, им надо дать возможность развиваться максимально быстро, используя весь свой потенциал. Что нужно сделать? Нужно дать возможность другим участникам не страдать от доминирующего положения этих крупных игроков. И тут там целый набор мер, чтобы сэкономить время других участников. Я замолкаю. Спасибо.
Nikolay? Well, administratively, definitely no. If we talk about the financial market, just take a look at Sber. 15 years ago and now, those are two absolutely different in quality financial institutions. But the market share is actually decreasing. We experienced a decreasing market share of Sber. So the central bank is now doing very well here. So my response is no, we shouldn't restrict it. Thank you, Alexander.
Смотрите, у каждого регулирования должна быть своя цель.
So any regulation should have a
собственно
purpose.
говоря, когда мы говорим про долю на рынке, мы должны понимать, что за последние 10-15 лет доля Сбера по всем направлениям она снизилась. Я даже не говорю там про 20-25 лет, когда мы там точно были большим монополистом. Она снижается. Это осознанная позиция менеджмента. И осознанная позиция банка и нашего регулятора, и, соответственно, наших акционеров. Дело в том, что быть слишком большим для рынка — это всегда проблема излишнего повышенного регулирования и, опять же, снижения доходности и так далее. То есть у этого есть очень много минусов. И, собственно говоря, по этой причине регулировать крупнейшего, на мой взгляд, смысла нет. Его надо мотивировать, делать какие-то большие достижения. Вот, но этим конкретно...
Которыми все остальные будут гнаться.
Да, и здесь важна еще одна история. Вот подождите, вот Владимир говорил про арбитраж. Да? То есть, когда на нашем финансовом или финтех-рынке появляются другие, тогда надо регулировать. Простите, Wildberries, Озон, Яндекс.Маркет, которые пошли активно в финтех. Ну вот давайте посмотрим, они сейчас готовы к жесткому регулированию? Очевидно, нет. Мы когда просто их всех задушим, и не будет нормально ничего. Вот то, о чем сказал Владимир Викторович, вот когда там на Wildberries будут открывать кредиты, брать кредиты, открывать депозиты, страховки и так далее, это будет у Wildberries, ну, там, максимум через 3 года, даже раньше. И это будет, Таня, мы же вас знаем, Татьяна. Это ваш нормальный ход развития мысли, и это хорошо, и это правильно.
Татьяна, мы придем к вам, и мы придем к вам.
Но правда, да, вы будете вот с Владимиром Викторовичем дружить больше. Поэтому, в общем-то, должна быть цель. Я в настоящий момент не вижу этой большой цели регулирования, и, соответственно, считаю, что оно в настоящий момент достаточно. Спасибо большое Центральному банку и Совету Федерации.
Thanks a lot to the Central Bank and the Federation Council. Thank you.
Maria,
what do you
Я
think?
прежде чем отвечу, очень кратко.
Before
Татьяна, спасибо
answering,
вам большое. До этого все время
briefly,
мучилась,
Tatiana,
почему
thank you very
с меня
much.
списывают деньги, уже когда
I
радостный
always
сын
was
выходит с корзины
concerned
заказанных и
why
полученных товаров, и только в этот момент я получала
have
смс-ку о списании.
my
А вы мне
funds
доверяете.
withdrawn
Спасибо вам за это.
from
Вот,
my
отвечая на
card
вопрос,
when
я
my
полностью согласна с Владимиром и с
son
Александром, потому что,
orders
мне кажется,
something on
надо
Wildberries. Now I
действовать не
understand how the Wildberries mechanic
зарегулировать
works.
или
I
сократить,
think
или что-то
that
сделать и повоздействовать на доминирующего игрока,
when it
а
comes to
скорее
the
действительно
dominant
возможности
play in
на
the
рынке
market, we don't
есть.
have to
Вопрос,
introduce
как ими пользоваться?
overregulation.
Не обязательно
There are
тратить там
opportunities in the
триллионы.
market.
Вопрос
One doesn't
действительно
need to spend
создание,
trillion
первое, какой-то
rubles.
правильной ценности для
First, one
клиента,
needs
чтобы он
to create some
заинтересовался.
value
Здесь вот
for
уже
a
второй
customer.
день на всех панелях
And for the second
звучит
day, on all the
клиентоцентричность.
panels,
Вот
we
идти
talk
надо
about
туда.
client
Тогда
centricity.
сами
This
клиенты
is
это
where we
будет
should go.
саморегулируемая
And
история.
then the
И вторая,
clients
это, безусловно, все это понимают,
will do the
это создание действительно
self-regulation.
нового,
And second
удобного
is that we have to
клиентского
create
цифрового опыта.
good new digital
Спасибо, Николай.
client experience. Thank you.
Но
Nikolay,
когда ты совсем небольшой размером, ну, может,
when
не
you
смыш
are
там, но
small,
уверенного в себе небольшого бизона, и видишь первый раз в жизни слона,
and so when you are like a small
Конечно,
animal
возникает
and
желание, чтобы
you
слонов кто-нибудь
see
запретил.
an elephant for the first time, then of
но на
course you
самом
want to
деле
get an elephant
нет, конечно, я
banned.
против искусственных
But
ограничений.
I'm
Во-первых,
against some
потому что
artificial
это неэффективно.
restrictions.
Во-вторых, потому
Why?
что
Because
мы
it's not
на
efficient.
самом деле
And,
являемся бенефициарами
Well,
того, что
we
есть
actually
крупный
also
игрок,
beneficiaries
который
from the
первый
situation that we have a
проходит
big
тяжелый
player
путь,
that
и потом
goes
мы
through
можем
this
следовать за ним
difficult
намного
way, and we
дешевле,
can
намного
follow.
меньше
It will be
инвестируя,
less expensive,
получая
we'll have
сопоставимого
to invest
качества
less, and
услуги.
it
Конечно, у
will
него есть конкурентное
be good for us.
преимущество.
Of
Он им
course, the big
пользуется.
player will
Но для нас
get the
остается более чем
competitive
достаточно
advantage,
ниш,
but we
в
also
которых мы
still have
себя
enough niches
комфортно
where we
чувствуем.
can
Конечно,
feel and
спасибо за это
operate
регулятору и
quite
законодателю.
comfortably. Thanks to our
Спасибо,
regulator
Татьяна.
and legislators
надо
here.
регулировать
So,
доли
Tatiana, do
крупных
you
игроков?
think that we need to
Если
regulate
регулировать, то
it?
регулировать надо весь
Well,
рынок.
I guess that if to
Отдельно
regulate, then to regulate
регулировать
everybody.
крупнейших игроков
And
точно нельзя, это
separately,
неограниченные
we
условия. И я
can't really
соглашусь с
regulate major players. I agree with the
Мы не
speakers.
всегда были самыми
We haven't
крупными
always
на
been
рынке.
the largest
И были
in the
времена,
market.
когда приходили иностранные
we
компании
had
на наш
some
рынок,
cases
огромнейшие
when
компании,
we
и
had
они
large
были крупнее не
foreign
только нас,
companies
но и всех остальных
that
игроков
were
вместе
larger
взятых.
than
Что
not
было бы,
only
если
we,
бы
but
мы
also like
дружно
larger than
побежали бы,
everybody
не знаю,
else?
там,
What would
госорганы и
happen if we
попросили
went to
бы
our
зарегулировать вот этого
governmental
игрока,
bodies
у
and
которого
asked
там
to
еще
regulate,
преимущества там всякие
overregulate those large
дотационные там
international
появились?
players?
Ничего бы хорошего не
What
вышло,
would
рынок бы не
happen?
вырос.
Nothing good would
Благодаря
happen.
этому
The market
игроку,
wouldn't
который
grow.
пришел и
And so
залил
thanks
просто
to
рынок
this
рекламными
player,
деньгами, вся
actually
Россия узнала,
that
что
filled the
такое
market with
онлайн-шопинг.
the
И от этого
advertisement
вот я
money,
соглашусь,
everybody's learned
выиграли
about
просто
online
все.
shopping. And so everybody won from
Спасибо
that.
большое. Знаете,
Okay,
что самое
thank you.
удивительное на этой сессии?
You
Мы
know what's
собрались говорить
interesting in
про
this session?
конкуренцию, да, и
We
как вообще
wanted to talk
кого-то
about
ограничивать, как
competition, how
вас не
to restrict,
регулировать. Вместо
somebody
этого
how
мы
to
не
regulate.
только говорили
And
очень
instead
часто
of this, we
о партнерстве,
not only were
о
talking about
вдохновении и
partnerships,
возможностях, которые
inspiration,
дает крупнейший
etc.
игрок. Да более того, мы своими руками
On
как
top of
воспитывали
that,
себе
we also
конкурента. Сегодня всю дорогу уговаривали Татьяну открыть, наконец,
We're
в
actually
полный рост
convincing
уже
Tatiana
предоставление финансовых
to
услуг на Wildberries,
go
девать
to
перед
all the
ним.
services via Wildberries. So we were bringing up the competitor for
Но об этом не
ourselves.
сегодня. Спасибо огромное
Thank
всем
you very
нашим
much,
спикерам,
all
и спасибо
our speakers. Thanks
зрителям и тем,
to
кто в
our
зале, зрителям
audience,
онлайн-трансляции.
both online and in the hall. And goodbye.